Over now to South Africa, where 60 men have appeared in a magistrate's court in the wake of the gang rape of 8 women on the set of a music video shoot last month at an unused mine site, I beg your pardon, outside Krugersdorp in Gauteng when the assault took place. Yesterday, the men appeared in the Krugersdorp Magistrate Court on immigration and firearm charges, but about 7 of them have now been charged with 32 counts of rape and robbery with aggravated circumstances.
While the men appeared outside the court, protesters from civil society groups and several political parties gathered to demand that the men are all denied bail. Initially, 80 people were arrested during raids launched after the rape, but more than 20 of them were minors. The minors' cases were transferred to a children's court where proceedings are held in camera.
Joining us this morning now is activist who will probably be, Nolana Soskana will be joining us in a moment to have these conversations. But I mean, it's important that we have this conversation because a few days ago we had International or National Women's Day in South Africa, and it's important that we have conversations about the health, welfare and safety of women. Unfortunately, in the first 3 months of this year, 10,818 women were reportedly, sexually assaulted, and almost 900 of them killed. That's a really sad statistic. But joining us this morning to delve into this conversation is activist Nonhlanhla Soskosana from the Gender Transformation Civil Society Group, Sonke Gender Justice. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Morning, and morning to your viewers. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. I think we should start off with, your thoughts and how you feel about this. As a woman in South Africa, what are your thoughts on this story? We just celebrated National Women's Day a few days ago. How does this story make you feel?
It is a very difficult moment and a very painful moment for women in South Africa because as women in South Africa, we feel that even if we told the story that we are in a democratic South Africa, we've got human rights, but the reality of our lives is that we are not free, and we also feel that our rights are being violated on a day-to-day basis. And unfortunately, this is a situation that women in South Africa are finding themselves, even in a space where we're supposed to celebrate the successes of women who came before us. But unfortunately, we find ourselves have to, face struggles that still needs us, to come together and come up with mechanisms of how can we be able to make South Africa a safe space for all women.
Well, South Africa, like Olive mentioned, is currently marking Women's Month. And of course, it's sad that this is happening. But, I want your thoughts on how much the government and the authorities need to do to tackle the spate of violence against women. Do you think enough is being done? And, what more would you like, to be added?
There is a lot that, our government still needs to do. If you look at the very same case that happened in Krugersdorp, and you listen to women in Krugersdorp telling their stories prior to these incidents to say they've been reporting many cases of rape and assault to our South African police. But however, those reports were not taken into consideration. They were not taken serious. And a lot of women in that space have reported to be gang raped even before. So we as women in South Africa, we feel that our police system has failed us as women, and they still need to do a lot to change the attitude of the very same police officers, because there's a lot that, is happening in terms of the attitude of police officers around issues of rape, the stigma that has been, put to women when they come to report cases of rape, but also the involvement of our police officers in corruption where they compromising cases of women who are reporting these cases. So we still have a lot to do. We are aware of the fact that as a country, we have a national strategic plan on gender-based violence and femicide, and there's been a commitment from our government to say they want to see change in terms of gender-based violence in our communities. But the reality of our lives is, as much as we are having this strategic plan, but we are dying on a day-to-day basis. So there must be change, there must be commitment, but also we're calling upon our Treasury to look at funding the National Strategic Plan, because it is good enough to have the plan, but if the plan is not fully funded, then it becomes difficult for services to be provided to the survivors of gender-based violence and those of the families of those who have passed away because of femicide.
Talk to us about, I'll make reference to statistics. 1 in 3, according to World Health Organization, 1 in 3 women will experience gender-based violence. And a lot of the time, this is by close family members. Let's talk about what a culture is like. How does the family, when a person talks about being assaulted, give us a picture of what the family, is like, the family situation. Are survivors receiving the support from their families and from their communities? Or do we have a lot of victim shaming?
Thank you so much for asking that question, because our stats shows that a lot of cases of gender-based violence are committed by people that are closer to women or the survivors. And the most difficult part for the survivors to deal with the issue of rape, more especially, or gender-based violence in general, it's the fact that the stigma, around a person who would be reporting that they are raped to their family members. And most of the families would say, let us not report this case, let us deal with this case as a family, so that we don't really tamper with the dignity or the integrity of the family. But a woman is compromised in that space, and more especially young women, where when they are supposed to be supported, they are being blamed and told that what were you wearing, what were you doing in front of this family member. And it is unfortunate because most of these cases, they happen when families are having some kind of events, whether it's a party or it's a family ritual event, and young women are being raped during those processes. And some of them, they report that they're even being raped by very close family friends. And when they report these cases, they are blamed in terms of saying they've been enticing this man. This man is a well-trusted man. It's a respected person. It could be a pastor. It could be a principal. It could be, a very close family friend to the male family members. So women are not supported by family members, and it's very critical for us as families to be able to support the survivors, but also our approach must be survivor-centered. We must listen to them, and they must guide the process, and let us not dictate terms to survivors.
Really sad. Obviously, a lot of work needs to be done on the family level, on the societal level, and of course on the government level with regards to gender-based violence in South Africa. But let's talk about this case now. Will Sonke be following this court case? And is Sonke also doing everything to make sure this case doesn't fall below the radar?
Definitely, we are following this case, and we are working with civil society organizations who have interest in this case, and in terms of how do we really make sure that justice is served. But also, we would like to see a support for the survivors. But as I've said, if we give support to survivors, it needs to be survivor-centered. We need to be guided by the survivors in terms of what they would like us to do, and also in terms of us being able to provide information that is necessary for the survivors to be able to go through this painful process. And it is not only about the survivor, but also about the families, because issues of rape, they affect the survivor, but also the people that are close to that particular person.
All right, Nolala Skosana, thank you very much this morning for lending your voice to this conversation and the work that your organization is doing to ensure that women's rights are being protected.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us.
All right.